Welcome to the Theology of Business podcast, where marketplace Christians explore God's will and ways for business. This show features conversations with today's Christ-centered business leaders who are representing Christ faithfully in the business world. I'm your host, Darren Shear, and if you want to make your work, leadership, and company's culture more Christ-centered, you've come to the right place. Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the Theology of Business podcast. I'm your host, Darren Shear, and this is the show for marketplace Christians seeking to explore and apply God's will for business. On this episode, we're joined by Kurt Avery. Kurt is the founder of Sawyer Products, and if you are a backpacker or just an outdoor aficionado, you definitely know Sawyer Products. I live about 20 minutes from the Appalachian Trail, and Kurt was just telling me that probably 90% of the products that are used as far as bug repellent and snake bite remedies and water filtration, all sorts of these outdoor products. Probably 90% of what's being used on the Appalachian Trail are coming from Sawyer Products. And so he serves as the president and the owner. Before founding Sawyer, he served as a marketer for globally known brands. He's passionate about and committed to creating disease-free water for life in communities throughout the world. He's a graduate of Hope College and Northwestern's Kellogg School of Management. And he and his wife, Barbara, reside in Florida and are parents of 4 and grandparents of 5. And he's the author of the new book, Sawyer Think: How a Small Company Disrupts Markets and Changes the World. Kurt, welcome to the Theology of Business podcast.
Well, thank you. It's great to be here.
Kurt, what's one of your favorite stories that illustrates the impact being made by your company? I know you're doing a lot of philanthropy, but specifically in the company with your customers, like what's one of your favorite stories?
It's just, we started in 84 and my wife and I hit the road and we were just living in the stores, teaching everybody, training them on our products and stuff like that. We had some pretty big God moments. Gulf War I came around and they needed sunscreens. And at that point, we had just moved into a partnership with a company making, hand filling 2,000 bottles a day, and they wanted 230,000 a week. And so, of course, I said, yeah, we can do that. I'm a big God. I don't let little details like that get in the way. And sure enough, we were bidding $1 or $2 below the next lowest bid, and we kept saying, what is wrong? What are we not doing here? We're going to get killed or something. But it turns out we were right. We pushed our pencils correctly, and we got the bid, and then bid ultimately ended up with 3.2 million bottles. So it was really nice because we had lost a lot of money starting the company up till then. That helped us. But the strange thing was we got in there and we're already making this stuff, and then we find out there's a little criteria that says you have to be a commercial brand. I said, we've been in business for 2 weeks. I just started selling sunscreens 2 weeks earlier. I shipped 2 cases, one to California and one to a little hardware store, Broadway Hardware in McAllen, Texas. So it turns out I've only got 12 products out on the whole marketplace. And one case was a mile from where the inspector was. So he got in his car, drove down there, saw it on the shelf and said, yeah, you're a commercial brand. You get the contract, which is good because we'd already made 500,000 bottles. But those things don't happen. Wow. If you don't think God's got your hand on your business, then you're crazy, because that just doesn't happen in the real world.
Yeah. Well, it's a win-win for the military. I've been out in Kuwait, and you definitely need sunscreen out there. And I'm sure that's where a lot of that sunscreen was consumed during Gulf War I. Yeah.
No, it was a lot. It was amazing. It turned out to be a pretty unique formula because, there's no timeouts. And so it actually would last up to 3 days without being reapplied because there's no time to quit shooting. I got to put sunscreen on. Yeah. No. So we ended up with a pretty neat formula out of all that from one of our scientists. So
yeah,
quite the experience, but we saved the government, I don't know, $4 or $5 million because we were a couple bucks below the next lowest bid.
Yeah. So Kurt, when did you first realize God wanted to be involved in your work and business?
Well, I've always been a believer from knee high to a grasshopper. I don't remember ever not being a believer. And I went through the phase of apologetics where looked at why Christianity versus all the other stuff, and it was obviously pretty obvious from creation and everything else that Christianity is the right religion. So never really doubted that. So I don't know if I ever separated it, saying how do you do business without God? I mean, it's just he's everything, so he's got to be in everything. But as far as but of course, I worked with big corporations, and so you're there as a Christian, but you're not driving the whole company. But once we started Sawyer, we started with the snake bite kit, and I wanted to name it a Christian company, and so I ended up with Acts 24:5 and 6 backwards, called it Saphida, because that's where Paul was bit by the viper on Malta, and then they thought he was a god. He said, "I'm not a god, but I'll show you a god." So we always wanted Sawyer to be dedicated to Christianity, to God, So we started, but then it got to be Buy America, and that didn't sound like an American name, so we switched it to Sawyer. It was Saphida DBA Sawyer for first 20 some years. So we've always had that in mind. Never strayed.
And you said Sabbath. What was that backwards?
Acts 28:4, 5, and 6.
Okay.
SAFFETA.
Got it.
Doesn't run off your tongue. The other one I use, I like Taleo. We started another company called Taleo for owning some buildings, and those were Christ's last words on the cross. A lot of people interpret it as it is finished, but it can also be interpreted as paid in full. So I have a son who speaks a bunch of Greek, so he told me, it can be paid in full. So I like that.
Yeah, love that. And there was a point when you realized that you had the very product needed in developing countries.
Right.
Tell us about that.
Well, I'm strange. Okay. You got to understand, I'm not normal. Long along the way, we had the water filtration, and then we had the insect repellents, and half the world dies of one or the other, either mosquito bites or bad water. I said, okay, God, why don't we just go fix all that? Why don't we just, so of course that means him, not me, we meaning him. So we had the products that people needed. And that gave us an enormous, how do you not share the filter? And our filter is way beyond anything else. They're called point of use. You use them right at the point where you're ready to drink, or from a faucet or whatever. How do you not share that? I mean, what's the number? 800 billion people don't have clean water, and here you're sitting there with the absolute best solution. I mean, it's less than $20. It's small in a Coke can, and it never wears out. The thing's good for 1 million gallons. I mean,
wow.
How do you not? We got one now that costs less than 10 cents to give a person clean water for life. 10
you don't
cents.
have to. You have to change the filter.
No, you just clean it. You back flush it like a swimming pool.
Wow.
So how do you not share that? So the beauty of it is for us, the repellents are very profitable. So we could use this to subsidize. I don't need money. I get this shirt is 10 years old, and I get new shoes every 4 years. And so I'm not taking, there's no U-Hauls in heaven, so I'm not taking it with me. So let's give it away. But what really was interesting is, and what the book points out to people, is how you can maximize your taxes. So nobody, because it is 100% owned by me, and I'm sub S, so I don't have to make a profit on the product. Okay, no law says I have to make a product. So I can give these things away. I can sell them at a loss. I can sell them at deep discount. So if I don't make a profit, I don't have to pay taxes on a nonprofit. So it became pretty easy for me to maximize the gifting, right? So you can write it off. And we also are doing a lot of R&D. So for instance, we prove that it works, because the end game here is we're going to do whole countries. We're not just going to do people. And we're literally lining up countries. We've done 5 countries border to border already. 1 big one, 4 little ones. And so we can write off the R&D, because I'm answering questions that, we know that within 2 weeks, these filters wipe out 95% of all sickness, waterborne sickness. The other 5% is because they're not handling their toiletries right, or washing their vegetables or whatever. But we wipe out 95% in 2 weeks. Just takes 2 weeks, and 95% of sickness is gone.
Wow.
the savings, they're not having to take malaria pills, diarrhea pills and all that kind of stuff. And we can save anywhere from 10 to 20% of their income because they're not buying fuel, either wood or gas to boil water to drink.
Mm.
And so we're proving all that, and that's R&D, because I also have other pieces of the puzzle. We changed the whole culture, the way that the husband treats the wife. Girls aren't out there getting raped, having to go long distance for water. People aren't sick. They're rehydrated. They're thinking better. There's all kinds of benefits going on culturally, and we're doing some big ones where even the tribes have settled down. There's not as much warfare between tribes because they don't need to. They're not fighting over water or anything else. So we're proving all that. So when you do that, that's R&D. So I can write it off. So
because even if you dig wells, they're still fighting over wells, right?
Well, here's the thing. Sometimes there's no surface water at all. Okay. If there's any surface water, I don't care how bad it is, we'll make it drinkable. But if there's no surface water, drill. Now, what well do you drill? If you drill a shallow well, you can get some water, but it's still not safe. Well, it of course will be safe with our filter. So you can do a shallow well, use our cheap filter, an inexpensive filter, and now you can clean. Or you have to dig a deep well to get to water that doesn't need to be treated later. The problem with the deep wells is they break down, and people go in, they build the wells, and then they say goodbye, and there's nobody to maintain them. 80% of all wells fail within a year.
Wow. And how many of those just completely fall into permanent disrepair, and what percentage are actually
Well, it's actually a business of going out and fixing wells. They actually have charities that do that. Most of the time, if it's a deep well, good luck. But the whole point is you can build a $5,000 well, or for $300-400 do the same thing with our filters. I mean, these filters, the average filter serves 20 people a day.
Wow.
And then I have one that
$20 and 20 people are drinking off of that every day
for 10 years.
For 10 years.
Right. Now, the newest one we brought out, you just put it on a faucet, so we can now go into the cities, and that's 500 gallons a day for a $20 filter for 10 years. I mean, it's staggering. We can do a whole orphanage with one $20 filter. I mean, it's staggering. So that's kind of where we're at. But we had to prove all that. So it's all R&D, and you can write that off, and you can donate filters and all that stuff. So you're really doing it pretty cheap, because I liken it to, if we made cupcakes, we'd have to sell the cupcakes, take the profit, pay taxes on the profit, and then we could give away something. But since we have the very thing people want, I don't have to make the profit. I don't have to pay taxes because we didn't make the profit. So our giving of this product is way times more valuable than if it was something that they didn't need and we just wanted to help out.
Yeah. So you're just making profit off of what you're selling online to
the retail business,
company, the retail business, and then you're just giving these to. Are you typically going through other charities?
Yeah, we have 140 charities in 80 countries. I mean, we're in some of the hard ones. We are in Gaza, we're in Yemen, we're in North Korea, we're in Iran. There are Christian enclaves in those countries, and we work with them. About 80% of the charity work done around the world is done by Christians. So probably that same thing for us. We have Christian and non-Christian groups. We either give it to them. Sometimes I give them cash. Quite a few we give cash. Or I deep discount it. But we're in every tragedy. Samaritan's Purse keeps 2 plane loads of our filters ready at all times, because even on day 2, you have to have water, even them. Right now, we're servicing the earthquakes in Japan. We're flying a lot of product over to Japan for their earthquakes. So every natural disaster, we're there, because everybody has to have water on day 2, and we're the easiest solution.
Yeah. So. Hurricane Harvey, were you guys there for that one? I was in Houston at that time.
We don't do domestic.
Okay.
Because they love to pass out bottled water. They could. We were very close. I had to deal with Florida on when the hurricanes came through, and it got nixed. They were worried about legal lawyers suing them, because they want their bottled water. But every international, we are there, like the Cajun Nation will always have it when they're
Yeah.
rescuing people. They come back to a station before they get it back into circulation. So we are in the domestics, but in a small way. We do Indian reservations where they have hard times with water, Canadian reservations. We're in every country. But any international disaster, whether it's a typhoon, hurricane, cyclone, outside the United States, we're in everyone. We have people can go in there with 2 duffel bags of filters, hunker down during the hurricane, and when they come up the next day, they can take care of a couple 100,000 people out of two suitcases.
Yeah. Wow. And so y'all don't do domestic because of just the bureaucracy?
FEMA doesn't want to pay for them. I mean, I can't even give them away. Now, we did some, like when you had the problem in eastern Kentucky, they had that, or the boil alert in Jackson, Mississippi. Yeah, we got filters, and Rotary will bring them in. Some of our charities will work there. So we're able to get them into something like that. But in general, with a hurricane, now FEMA's not going to, too many lawyers in the United States. They don't want to take the chance.
Yeah.
Which is silly, because you might plastic bottles, we could save them. Passing out and cleaning up. I mean, one little filter can wipe out, I don't know, 2,000 bottled waters and not needed.
Right.
And then you got it for the next hurricane and the next one and the next one. So welcome to America.
Yeah. Especially in places like, during Katrina. I remember I was stationed at Barksdale Air Force Base, and I mean, there were, dozens and dozens of semi-trailers just full of product going to waste and spoiling, sitting there on our base because of the red tape and just not being able to get the trucks mobilized. But if they were to have, that's moving bottled water that is just an enormous logistical job. But to be able to move these filters, it seems like it would make a lot more sense.
Yeah, you can do several thousand people in one little bag. If you ever remember when Puerto Rico had the double hurricanes, and if you go there now, you see all that bottled water sitting on the tarmac. I mean, truckload after truckload. They got there too late. By the time they got there, half the people in Puerto Rico were drinking out of our filters, or a third, or whatever. I mean, we took care of the people. They didn't need the bottled water, and then it just sits there and rots. Yeah. And that was not cheap to get all that bottled water to Puerto Rico either.
Oh yeah.
So that's it's where but we are well appreciated where we are. So
yes,
you go in there and you change lives.
Right.
I mean, just think. No more diarrhea. One of my favorite stories is a missionary went to a village in Uganda, and he's sitting there and he's there doing his mission work for a week. And he says, "I noticed you don't name your kids till they're 3 years old." And the parents said, "Yeah, because we know if they make it to 3, they'll live. Yes. Otherwise they might lose a third of their kids." So he goes back there with filters, a couple hundred filters, sets up the village. Goes back here the next year later. They named them all at birth. They haven't lost a kid since the filter showed up.
Wow.
Because that's what gets little babies is the bad water.
So what percentage of your volume of products that are distributed and or sold are on the for-profit side, and what percentage are on the nonprofit, international side?
Yeah, I just happened to look at that just yesterday. I say about a third of all the filters we distribute, maybe a little more, go overseas for charity. Either sometimes we sell them at a subsidy and sometimes we don't. But we also give a lot of cash too, though. So we always use the phrase, we give away 90% of profits. Mm-hmm. Which we do. But I also give away more than that because I don't let it become a profit. So that which becomes a profit, we give away 90%, but more than half of that never even made it to the profit line. Mm. So it's quite a chunk, but why not, right?
Yeah.
So the book is trying to encourage other people to do the same thing. I mean, why can't a plumber give away plumbing services? Why can't a baker, give away bread or donuts or whatever? A restaurant's got extra food. How can you take your business and benefit other people for Christ?
Yeah.
There's a witness there. It's interesting in that we do big projects too. We do slums, we do all kinds of stuff, but generally the conversion rate is in the 10 to 15%. So the other, 85 to 90 say thank you very much for the water, but I'm not, we always share the gospel when we do that. And that's an interesting stat to me. I'm wrestling with that, but maybe some catch on later on because after their life has really changed, they figure it out, or the neighbors. Now we always use locals. We don't bring in the gringos. I mean, it's always passed out by local people, creates jobs, creates authenticity. They're networked in the community. And so they keep working. So I'm sure that number keeps rising over time, but that's the initial thrust.
Yeah.
But it's like I said, it's our job to bring the bread, not feed the 5,000. That's the Holy Spirit and God's job to do. So we just get it out there.
Yeah. Well, what a great metric to track, the conversion rate, because most of us, we hear conversion rate and we're thinking, what percentage of people on my email list are responding and purchasing that product and tracking links and all that stuff. But the conversion rate of the impact of your business on the stakeholders and how they respond favorably to Christ. I mean, that's
Yeah, we built in a GIS system. So we have a QR code on the filters. And so, because we're getting ready to do big numbers with countries and they're going to pay for it. If Peru wants 1 million filters, they'll pay for it, and the payback on a filter is anywhere from 2 days to 2 months. You got your money back, but governments always want somebody else to pay for it. How that goes. A lot of corruption down there. But with the QR code, you just take your smartphone, you scan it, and it takes you right to a link where in 18 different languages, we'll teach you how to put it on, how to take care of it, how to maintain it. We teach you best practices, what to do with your fecal matter, how to keep your water from getting contaminated. So we're very sophisticated. We're not just selling a filter. We're selling a whole educational package. So when we have that GIS system, we can do these measurements, and we do a lot of measurements on these things. So now if a philanthropist wants to invest, they'll know exactly what they get. I mean, we can prove to you that your dollar, 95% of the people quit being sick within 2 weeks. Mm-hmm. We'll prove it to you. Well, we can give you a project. So that's why we can do that, because I know, if you're an investor, don't you want the best dollar, and by and large, most charities start on emotions. God bless them. They have the emotion and passion to do this, but there's a place for metrics. So we introduce the metrics to them.
Yeah. Kurt, so in terms of operating the business, what's one of the best business practices that helps you and the culture of your company to reflect God's character and ways?
Well, our standards are pretty high. We say, good enough is never good enough, so I don't think I always remember once, I don't know why, somebody asked me to prepare the communion for a small church up in Evanston, Illinois, where Northwestern was. And of course, I wanted to make the juice go the furthest can, so I diluted it down pretty good. It was horrible. And then I sitting there going, God doesn't want that. God wants you to give him the best. Why would you water down your juice to try and save a nickel?
Yeah.
I mean, he deserves the best. So quit trying to cut corners on your worship and on your praise, So we don't. I don't know if that's kind of your answer.
Yeah,
there.
Absolutely. I mean, Jesus is expecting us to go the extra mile, but a lot of companies aren't even really going the first mile and just having a quality product, let alone going above and beyond the customer's expectations. But really the bar is pretty low out there, I mean, people almost don't expect things to work anymore.
No, well, I'm from an old farm thing, 13 ears of corn in the dozen and everything else. So you always give them more. But, God owns the cattle on 1,000 hills. What are you worried about? I mean, I make mistakes. He's bailed me out so many times. It's ridiculous. I'm human. I have some business skills, but I'm not perfect. I make mistakes. But he's a big God, created the whole universe, for crying out loud. And you're worried about, when I do give a talk, I've done a few, I said, the number one thing you can do is have a big God. If you make your God small, you'll do small things. If you let your God be big, you'll do big things. Because he's just using you. And too many people put God in a little box so they can manage him. So no, it's the other way around. You go big and let him manage you. And I've done so many things. People laugh at me. I said, we can do that. We can do that. I had no logical business reason to think we could do that, but why not? Why can't we change the world? I mean, if he but it is a burden because you sit there going, God, I can't go faster, go faster. But if God wanted to wipe out bacteria, makes you sick, he could snap his fingers and do it tomorrow.
Yeah.
But he doesn't. It's there for a purpose. So maybe the reason we do have people getting sick is so that we can go help them get unsick and share the gospel. Otherwise, they'd have no need for the gospel.
Yeah.
So you can't outthink God too much. You just kind of go and do it. But he'll tangle you up a few nights.
Yeah. I mean, usually when I ask folks on this show, what's a time when you saw God's hand at work in your company? It's usually a really difficult circumstance they went through when they saw God, and so it's easy to not really pay attention when things are going well. But what folks are facing in certain parts of the world with malaria and no clean drinking water, I mean, it's just unfathomable for me and most of us here.
And yet we have this solution. I'm the other way around. When things aren't going good, I blame myself. I don't blame God. I figured I must have really screwed up something. When they go good, I usually give him the praise because it's not me. I was raised that way, just humble beginnings, and it's not you. It's just not you. So
yeah, but facing those challenges, what is a time when you saw God's hand at work in your company?
Oh, there's so many God stories. Even how we got this filter. I started out wanting to do water because I knew water was a big problem, and I tried various different things. There were lots of different chemical things and other kind of filters. Then we stumbled onto this hollow fiber membrane, which is from kidney dialysis. So nobody had really applied that to point of use filtration. They use it in the cities, in a much not as tight as ours, but so we adapted it to this, and I partnered with a company who was evil, and we no sooner got going, and then he calls me up on a Thanksgiving weekend and says, "I can't pay my workers. Can you take them?" I said, "Sure, send them over. I'll take them, but you can use them if you need them." Well, 2 weeks later, he sues me for stealing workers that had non-compete clauses, which he forged, by the way. So that was but we won. Okay, we won the case because he was wrong. We won. It cost us a lot of money. He didn't have any money, so we didn't get it back. But then we went to buy some more filters, and the filter company came and said, "We can't sell you. Why can't you sell us? It's a filter. We've been buying it." He said, "No, if you bought them through this company, if you bought it, I can't sell you direct because he'll sue us if we do." Oh, man. Okay, but then my guy who did come over remembered one other name, and he tracked that down, and we ended up with this filter, which is far beyond anything on the market, and including the one we were using in the very beginning. So classic case of they meant it for evil and God used it for good. Put us onto the very thing that we can do now. And in 24 years, or 14 years, nobody has matched. No, I guess it's been 20 years. Nobody has matched our technology or our commitment. So we test every filter 3 times. Every filter, not random, whatever, to make sure it works so we won't sell it and give it away. So classic case. They meant it for evil. They were trying to put us out of business or whatever. And God took around and gave us the very thing, which is unparalleled.
Wow.
So
wow, praise God. I mean, that's exactly another example of what started out as this is just a terrible situation that could really hurt our business, And sometimes it's when you start to walk into something like that, it's easy to assume God's just not in it because things aren't going well. And if it was going well, then we could say, "Oh, God is in this." But sometimes when that's not the case, we kind of doubt that we're on the right track, and yet those are the times when God is ready to just blow our minds with the way that He works the situation out. Like you said, what was meant for evil, God turned it around for good.
We if they hadn't done that, we never would have gotten to this product, which you couldn't do what we're doing with a lesser product. It's only because nothing can get through that makes you sick other than virus, which isn't in the water anyways. But nobody can match our technology. Nobody can match how well this works and how quick it works and all that kind of stuff. And the fact that it never wears out, that you can always clean it. Nobody else has a filter that can be cleaned forever.
Yeah.
They all have lives to their short lives.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it's the whole thing. It isn't just about Sawyer's success. It's about being able to witness. If we had a different filter, we couldn't go witness the way we are, because we wouldn't be changing lives the way we are.
Yeah.
I mean, you want authenticity. You go in there and change somebody's life, and then they'll listen to you.
That's right.
If you've been sick your whole life, and then all of a sudden 2 weeks later, you're never sick again from water. And there's no diapers out there. Imagine your kid having diarrhea for the first 3 years of their life, and the adults. We had one guy, he drinks the garbage. I mean, you won't believe, I show you some videos of the water they are drinking. You wouldn't go anywhere near it. I mean, it's got every bad thing you could think in there. And they just pop the diarrhea pills like every day because they know they have to have it. Because they drink this, they got to take that pill. And then all of a sudden, never again. I mean, and then have 20% more income.
Yeah. Yeah, because they're not sick all the time and they can work.
They can work. They don't have to buy fuel. I mean, we're the greenest product on the planet. I mean, every filter can save up to 200 trees a year. 200 trees a year or fossil fuel equivalent per filter. I mean, that's huge green product.
Wow.
And now these people have extra income. They can start businesses. We had one in Honduras, no, Guatemala. Because of the filters, she was able to start a business making tacos and stuff because she has clean water. She can now make safe tacos. So, I mean, they start business. They can fully hydrate. You ever watch Survivor? When they're not hydrated, how wacky their decisions are.
Yeah.
Well, just think if, now you're fully hydrated, you're thinking correctly.
Yeah. If you've got a deep well in your town and it breaks, what do you do? I mean, you just try to go to the next town and just hope they're not going to run you out of there. I mean,
well, if you have surface water, obviously we're fine, but yeah, they're in trouble. Yeah. In the remote countries. Yeah, they're in trouble.
Yeah. Wow. What an innovative. And so do you own the patent for this particular filter, or how does that work?
Well, if somebody wants to read the book, they'll find out I don't do patents, because if you do a patent, you have to tell them how you did it and they get to reverse engineer it. So I'd rather keep them guessing. If you have a secret ingredient, you don't tell them what the secret was. You let them try and figure it out. Nobody's figured it out in 20 years.
Wow.
So no, there's a place for patents, but there's a place to not patent it either, because you have to defend the patent. So the big companies, they can design around it, and then good luck going up against their lawyers. So I cover that.
Face that? Have you been facing that with other companies kind of trying to do the same thing?
No, I don't think. No, we don't make the filter ourselves. We don't make the fibers ourselves. We put it all together. And the company that makes the fiber happens to be a Christian company overseas in a country that's not Christian. And they love us to death. And nobody ever thought of this. They sell it in other applications, and they won't sell this to anybody else. Now, so now there's another 30 or 40 companies making these fibers, but they don't know how to make it like this. I mean, you could take the big companies like Siemens or General Electric. They could make it. They have the technology, but this is too small of a market for them to deal with. But someday, I don't care if they join us. I mean, there's plenty of lives
Yeah.
to save, we'll be fine. Because we sell more than just a filter. Remember, we got the GIS system. We do the metrics. We can do mass distributions because of the phone. The other thing, though, is they won't do what we did. We make so many of these that we can afford half our cost of these filters is our testing. And we test it when we make the fiber to make sure that there's no big holes in there. If there's any big holes left, because it's part of science, we don't use that filter. Then we have to assemble it. We have O-rings, we have sonic welds. We make sure they're all holding. And every filter is tested 3 times. That's half the cost of our filter. Mm. But how do you go to other people, maybe 90% of them, one company, big company, you would know the name, I won't say it, tells you right off the bat that only 90% of them work, that 10% don't work. Well, how do you go to a village and say, well, 10% of you are going to be okay, or 90%, but 10% of you, you're still going to get sick. Sorry, you might die. I mean, you can't do that. You got to go into a village and say, nobody's going to get sick using this. If you get sick, it's some other reason. I mean, how can you not go into a village with any other premise?
Yeah.
These are people.
Right.
And you lose your credibility. I mean, one reason we can be successful in sharing the gospel is nobody's getting sick.
Yeah. Yeah. If you had to estimate how many people have given their hearts to the Lord as a result of the filters.
Oh, it's a lot, because we do anywhere from, depending on whether there's hurricanes or not, anywhere from 2 to 5 million people a year get clean water for the first time, either from a hurricane or just regular, what we call it, transformational business. So transformationally, we're doing at least a couple million a year. So if that's 15%, that's
a lot of people.
That's 300,000 a year for 10 years.
Praise God. Praise God.
Well, the only thing you get to take to heaven with you is the other souls that joined you. So
that's right. That's right. And folks, you can learn more about Kurt and his story and the Sawyer story by getting the new book, Sawyer Think: How a Small Company Disrupts Markets and Changes the World. And you can also check out the Sawyer Products at sawyer.com, SAWYER.com. Kurt, thank you so much for spending time with me and our listeners. I know that I'm inspired and encouraged and challenged by what you've shared with us today.
The book's launch date on Amazon and bookstores is November 19th. Sawyer.com, you can get the book there, or Amazon.
This episode will drop right about that time. So we'll time it just right for you.
All righty. Well, thank you. I love your theme and what you're doing.
I appreciate that, Kurt. So good to chat with you today.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Theology of Business podcast. Be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and tune in for the next episode as we continue exploring God's will and ways for business.